Investigators may be getting closer to determining the motive behind the mass shooting inside a Manhattan office building that killed 4 people, including an NYPD officer. Surveillance video shows the gunman carrying a military-style rifle as he enters the Park Avenue Tower. Police say he had a documented mental health history, and after the deadly rampage, he shot and killed himself at the scene. The tower where the killings took place holds several high-profile companies, including investment giant Blackstone and the National Football League. Mayor Eric Adams told CBS Mornings the suspect may have been targeting the NFL.
He did have a note on him. The note alluded to that he felt he had CTE, a known brain injury for those who participate in contact sports. He appeared to have blamed the NFL for his injury. The NFL headquarters is located in the building at 345 Park Avenue.
CBS News crime and public safety senior coordinating producer Anna Schecter joins me now. Anna, thank you for being here today. What do we know about this note? What was in it?
Well, we know that the note laid out his reasoning and his grievance against the NFL. He said that the league failed to address the brain injuries like CTE that he himself felt that he experienced. In fact, he, in another page of the note, according to law enforcement sources, said, "Please study my brain." So this was what law enforcement believe 100% the reason why he drove across the country to target that NFL building. He actually got into the wrong elevator bay and so didn't actually reach the NFL offices, but one individual who worked for NFL was hit by him.
Tell me, how does that information impact the investigation going forward?
Well, this investigation is really challenging. I mean, it does help speak to motive, but you've got on both coasts, or both sides of the country, you've got Nevada and you've got his history of mental health. Why was he able to maintain his concealed carry permit? Who messed up here? He had a mental health episode in 2022 and in 2024. That concealed carry permit that we obtained the photo of last night, that was from 2022. So why was he able to keep that? And then let's look at how did he get this gun? We do have the name of an individual in Nevada who the gun was registered to. What happened there? These are the questions investigators, I'm sure, have already interviewed that individual who was the legal owner of the gun. They've already gotten a warrant for his residence. They're going through his telephone, laptop, looking for anyone else who might have helped him carry out this crime.
This is such a tragedy every single time it happens. And to see that the gunman had traveled all the way across the country raises a lot of questions. You know, where did he stop along the way? How did he travel with this kind of weapon? Is that legal? How does that factor in?
Well, it's really chilling for members of the public to know that, you know, they might have encountered him on this cross-country journey. And it's just a reminder that when the police caught last week, for example, the individual who had made homemade IEDs and had planned to explode them, according to prosecutors. And there was an individual, a veteran, who called the police and said, "I'm concerned about this." That is why police were able to step in. The public plays a real role in public safety. And in this case, no one, you know, that there was some miscommunication. I wanted to add one more thing. One thing we learned just now from law enforcement is that in June, there was a gun show in Las Vegas, and a vendor there called the police concerned that this individual had purchased so much ammunition. So why did that message not get escalated up, and why was this individual able to cross the country to carry out this crime?
Wow, there's so many important details here. Anna Schecter, you've been across this since the moment it happened last night when we were sitting here breaking down that news. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. For more, let's bring in CBS News correspondent Jason Allen. He joins us from Las Vegas, where the shooter began that cross-country drive to New York. Jason, thanks for being here. Police say the suspect had a documented mental health history. What do you know about that? And did he have a history of violence associated with that?
Yeah, Jolene, so let's expand on that and kind of bouncing off of what Anna was just talking about. And this goes back to 2022 and 2024, where law enforcement sources are telling us that he had documented mental health episodes. Now, that could be a few different things, right? Nevada, like a lot of other states, has a law that for a short period of time, usually at the most 72 hours, just to get checked out. Now, that in and of itself doesn't mean that they're necessarily committed, doesn't mean the courts are stepping in at all. It could just be to check somebody out, make sure they're okay and they're not a danger to themselves or others, and then they could be released. And exactly what happened there, that is going to play a key part in determining, was that person then legally allowed to own a firearm? Were they legally allowed to have a concealed carry permit? In Nevada, it would impact the ability to have that concealed carry permit, which our reporting here at CBS News shows was still active, at least for a couple of years. And if he was held on one of those 72-hour holds, shouldn't have been able to have that permit. So that's something that we know investigators are going to be looking very carefully at to determine exactly what happened those couple of times when he is taken into custody, if he was held, and if something was missed that should have affected his ability to have the permit, although it may not have affected his legal ability to own or purchase a firearm.
So, Jason, you're standing there in Las Vegas, and we're here in New York, and obviously the two parts of the law enforcement system are going to be working together. How can they help each other through this investigation and navigate to get the information they need?
Yeah, great question. And a lot of that was probably starting right here on the ground in this neighborhood. So this is a neighborhood where Timur's family lived. We're about 15 miles or so west of the Strip. If you know Vegas, if you're familiar with Vegas, maybe that kind of gives you an idea where it is. We haven't seen a huge law enforcement presence here this morning, at least not obvious, outside of law enforcement occasionally driving past the neighborhood. Really, what you can draw from that and what that tells you is they're focused on other places in the state right now. Anna had mentioned, right, that there is some information showing the person who had purchased the firearm that was used and that they're likely talking to him. They're probably also going back to some of those sources that are alerted to them to what had happened at that gun show last month. The person who had called in saying that they had seen Timur purchase a large amount of ammunition and that aftermarket trigger as well. So those are the things, trying to figure out what other things might have popped up in the last few months or maybe in the last year that may have been missed, if there was anything that was out there that should have led somebody to catch this before it happened yesterday.
Jason Allen, thank you so much out in Las Vegas for us.